The 30th Annual ESPY Awards are coming in July to help honor Kansas City's outstanding players and coaches in our community. You can make a nomination now at 810WHB.com or go to the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page to fill out the submission form. See the official rules and categories and earn extra nominations by sharing your nominee stories using the hashtag 810ESPYs. The honorary ESPYs are back. Make your nominations today.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
Flu season is still active, and you can fend off the flu with 5 easy action items. Start with avoiding close contact with sick people and stay at home if you are sick. Secondly, wash your hands frequently for 20 seconds at a time. Thirdly, remember to cover your coughs or sneezes. Also, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and your mouth. And the number 1 action item, get your flu shot. This message brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Anthem Foundation.
You're listening to the most powerful sports station in the country. Sports Radio 810, WHB Kansas City, the power of sports.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the #1 motorsports show for 2 decades, Track Talk, brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Here are the Racing Boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning. Welcome. Happy Memorial Weekend, the biggest weekend in racing all over the world. I'm Kirk Elliott. Flying solo this morning, Scott Traylor is over at Lake Ozark Speedway this weekend, and he's taken sort of a weekend off and still covering the races. But we're letting him sleep in because he's doing the mostly motorsports every day at 12 noon. So giving him just a little bit of a break, but we're here, and we've got a lot to cover here this morning. Of course, on the big stage, you've got the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. That's tomorrow. Here locally, a big late model event down at Lucas Oil Speedway, the Diamond and Dirt Tracks, as this is Show Me 100 weekend. We've got that all covered for you. We're going to be Billy Rock on from Wheatland later in the hour to give us an update on everything that's going on down there, including last night's event, won by Johnny Scott. Surprise, surprise. Big win, outdueling Jonathan Davenport in the tribute to Don and Billy Gibson, so we'll talk about that. I've got the 305 Nationals out here at I-70 Motorsports Park. Ray Cunningham, hour number 2, exclusively on Racing Boys. We'll bring him on. He'll give us an update on everything that's going on there and all the open wheel racing that's going on around the country. But first things first, let's bring on Lee Spencer, our own Lee Spencer, as she is down in Charlotte getting ready for the Coca-Cola 600 weekend. Cup cars have yet to hit the racetrack, but we've already had some action with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race last night. And today will be the Xfinity Series race. Lee, how you doing?
I'm super. How are you, Kurt?
Hey, we're doing great. We're getting you on right away here today because we want to there's a lot of things we got to talk about. You were out at the Millbridge Speedway earlier this week. Lots to talk about there, but first things first, we've got a lot of action at the 1.5 miles at the Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend. We have yet to see the Cup cars out on the racetrack, but at least the Truck Series guys put on a pretty good show last night.
They really did, and another heartbreaker for Carson Hocevar, right? I mean, the guys finished twice in the last, I guess, twice. He finished second twice in the last 6 races, but it's like, something just always seems to happen. And, I mean, he was also out of Millbridge. I was really shocked to see him. I mean, I shouldn't have been since he ran the Chili Bowl, right? But
right.
There were a lot of Toyota development drivers, and, he was out there as well, so I thought that was kind of cool. But, last night, certainly I would say experience prevailed, right? Because his veteran teammate didn't have the issues. I mean, they had fast trucks. You could see the Nice trucks, they were all very, very quick. And Hocevar looked like he had, his truck, certainly had the speed to win. And had it not been for, youthful exuberance, I think we'd be talking about a new winner this morning.
Yeah, he and Ryan Preece got together there with about 3 laps to go. Ryan Preece, we got both drivers' versions of all of that last night. Ryan Preece especially wasn't very happy about that, but, this young kid's got to live and learn. He certainly had the dominant race truck last night, but didn't get there.
No, and it's unfortunate, and, you're absolutely right, live and learn, right? That experience,
yeah.
And when he gets a little more experience racing with guys like Preece and Ross, then, and that's why we have the truck series, right? They've got to just kind of get their sea legs to them and learn what it takes to compete at that level. And that's why, putting your car or your truck in precarious spots, you're going to have that sometimes. And so it's tough, but it's, live and learn and you move on, and hopefully you put that in your bank of knowledge and experience. And next time you go to the track, you don't make those same mistakes.
And, this is what happens in racing when you get on a roll. We saw that with Kyle Larson last year and the year before that. This year it's Ross Chastain, who just happens to be in the right place at the right time. That's the way things are going for Ross Chastain right now. And on the other side of that, Larson get upside down at Millbridge the other night and some other things not going his way. But when it's going your way, it's going your way, and that is certainly the case with Ross Chastain right now.
Well, we all say that, racing's cyclical, and we've seen it time and time again, right? Somebody gets on a roll and they just take off. And once you hit on something, it's kind of like you just, you want to keep that genie in the bottle, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to give it up. You just want to kind of keep rolling and keep moving with it and just hope that you can sustain that momentum and whatever that, unique, I guess that, whatever you find, you want to be able to keep it and keep rolling with it. But, my gosh, racing changes so fast that that's just hard to do sometimes. And so, we see what happens with these, teams, and they just kind of, I think in the situation with Chastain, the new cars really help even the playing field, and he's with a team that's really committed, and they've been able to get out there and, make the most of the opportunities that they have, and it's really paid off for Ross Chastain and, Trackhouse, and I think it's just a matter of time before, we see his teammate join him in victory lane.
He was driving for Nice Motorsports last night. I was beginning to wonder if they had a watermelon that they were going to bring out for Ross last night. They were a little bit tardy getting that watermelon out there, but they finally got it out there for him to smash on the racetrack.
It's really become a trademark deal of his, and certainly not one anybody else can duplicate, right? Because it's genuine to him, kind of like Carl Edwards in the backflip. It's, really to a celebration, and one Ross certainly hopes to keep going.
Well, he's been running very well on these mile-and-a-half racetracks, getting good finishes up there, so I would expect the same for the Coke 600. But the big question I've got, Lee, are we going to see better racing at Charlotte than we saw last week at Texas?
Well, I think with the changes that you've seen as far as, just how competitive that the intermediate tracks have been so far, that's certainly, we certainly have the potential for that to happen. And it is such a welcome change because, for so long, these guys have really struggled on those tracks. And so I think that finally getting that opportunity, finally getting that opportunity to have side-by-side racing and, just the speed that these cars have shown. I think it's so welcome. Sorry, I just walked into the Y, but it's just, it's just welcome because for so long, the intermediate tracks were really the bread and butter of racing, and there were so many of them. And every time you went, you were hoping something phenomenal was going to happen. And with the exception of Atlanta, which the surface was so deteriorated that it really made for interesting racing, or Homestead, where you had to run the top. You just didn't find that kind of competitiveness. Usually somebody would hit on something and run off with it. And whatever they have done with this new car, whatever the aerodynamic nature is of it, has really helped to create fabulous racing at the intermediate tracks, and I certainly hope it continues this weekend at Charlotte.
Yeah, because last week at Texas, not so good, and I think a lot of that had to do with there was a rough patch down there in 3 and 4. There was a couple of rough spots up there. Charlotte's a little bit different, even though it looks the same. The resin, the PJ1, whatever they call that, up at the top, how different is that at Charlotte than at Texas last weekend?
Well, they didn't put as much down, and that was something when we talked to drivers. And I did a story on John Hunter Nemechek this week because he was one of the 10 NASCAR guys that went to Millbridge. When you think about that, I mean, 1/7 of the, or actually, I can't do math, but there were 10 of the 70 plus drivers that were out at Millbridge this weekend were out of the NASCAR ranks. So I thought that was pretty cool just to have that kind of change. But John Hunter was telling me that rather than multiple, layers of the sticky stuff that they put on at Texas, there was only a light layer of it at Charlotte. So, I didn't see a lot last night that just really made me think that there was, would change the racing dramatically, but I think we'll get a better idea today in the Xfinity race.
Kansas Speedway was about as good as I think we've seen on the 1.5-mile racetrack, but these tracks are a lot different than Kansas Speedway, which I thought put on a pretty good show. And I worry about what we saw last week in Texas. Let's be honest, that really wasn't that great of a show last week.
I don't know what it is about Texas. Texas hasn't really thrilled me. I don't know. It just doesn't have the level of competition that we'd really like to see. I mean, even with going into overtime in the All-Star race where anything could happen, and Blaney was almost like a one-man or a one-armed bandit there for overtime. As he tried to fix his window nut, it still wasn't scintillating, right? I mean, and you kind of wish for more. And I mean, I certainly think that there are ways that you could improve the All-Star race. And I'm even crazy enough to think that we could bring in champions from other series, not just NASCAR, but going outside the NASCAR, community and bring in champions and make it, just kind of like the old IROC race. I mean, if you had one day or one event where you could just bring all the best of the best, I mean, we see that at Chili Bowl, right? What makes Chili Bowl so exciting is not just the fact that we see drivers from every form of discipline. The midget guys are so good to begin with. And, that was something, going back to my John Hunter story, that was something that he discovered at being at, doing the weekly series at Millbridge and then bringing in all the national midget racers that really elevates the level of competition. Yeah. And, it's night and day. And so I think what you're going to have to do to get the All-Star race really good, you got to have, and I wrote about that too, it's got to be all-stars. It can't just be, you can't just have participation trophies for all these, wannabe cup stars. They should be stars. It should be an all-star race. If Billy Bob from AAA, if they threw him on the all-star baseball field, it would, people would be looking at each other and asking themselves, what is this guy doing here? So, I
tell you, you and Scott had a good conversation about all of this earlier in the week on Mostly Motorsports, and I think we all agree that they're not going back to Texas for the All-Star race next. They're going to do something different. I think we all agree with that, and I'm going to leave my ideas to another day. And so the All-Star race has got to get fixed. I think we all agree on that. But what I want to talk about before I get in, I want to ask you about the Indy 500 and some other things that are going on. But you were out at Millbridge Raceway. That's a little, I think it used to be a go-kart track at one time just outside of Charlotte. We watched 2 nights of midget racing and micro racing the other night on live video, and that was a heck of a 2-day show down there. You went out there to cover that event. Tell us what you found out.
Well, I just think that the potential's there, especially since Dirt Vision has come on board to really make that a big deal. We've had that conversation before about during the middle of the week. A lot of baseball games, they run day games Wednesday, Thursday. Well, you get home and hockey, unfortunately, my hockey season ended last night.
Oh, yeah. We're both Blues fans. That happened in typical fashion last night, did it not, Lee? Four seconds to go, and it's over.
Happened for them to keep them alive, crushed them, last night. But, hockey's done, NBA's done, and in the height of the summer, it would be really nice to have competitive racing. And when you have guys in the neighborhood like Bell and Larson and Briscoe and Bowman that can come out to Millbridge and race, I mean, that would make for hellacious racing. Not only that, the kids that are coming up, for them to have the opportunity to race against those guys, to race against NASCAR guys, the commitment that Toyota Racing has put in, I don't have to tell you, to the open wheel ranks and bringing their kids over there to get, grassroots experience and a little more car control and race against those guys. I mean, I think it's just a recipe for success. And, if I'm at home on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night and I see that they're, racing at Millbridge and the kind of guy, I mean, Chastain fell in love with dirt racing. He wasn't out there this week, but he's been out there in the past. But when you think about the star level that they can put out there for a weekly series, I mean, that's going to, that's must-see TV for me. And, it gives me an alternative when you don't have World of Outlaws or NASCAR or, something else running during the week.
The biggest moment of the whole week and the thing that just stopped all our hearts was the wild ride Kyle Larson took on the last night.
My goodness.
When he got a little bit too high down there in turns 1 and 2, and boy, he took quite a flip there. He's okay.
I thought he was going to win. I mean, I really thought he was, he was going. But it's like I was shocked to see him, go over, and that was kind of surprising. But he had a good micro run.
He won the micro race, didn't he?
He won the micro race, but ended up on the hook for the midget. But it's so cool what they do out there, and I have to tell you, it was almost like Old Home Week, going out there and running into people that I hadn't seen for a couple of years, because so many people in the NASCAR industry, their kids are racing out there, or they just love dirt racing so much they go out there and support what Jeremy and Ashley are doing, and they're Midwesterners. They're from St. Louis. The family that bought Millbridge, I want to say 11 years ago, and the improvements. I mean, every time you go back there, it's something new, and they're just striving to make it better. And it's like a hidden gem in the Charlotte area to have this place for premier dirt racing to go to. And I mean, it's not premier in the sense of the dirt track at Charlotte, right? Because they certainly don't have the budget of a Bruton Smith or, Speedway Motorsports, but for what it is, it's absolutely ideal.
I would equate Millbridge with Sweet Springs, which is just down the road from Kansas City, and Port City down in Tulsa. Those would be similar venues where the micros really take the center stage down there. So the micro racing is a big, big industry in America right now. We see it at the Tulsa Shootout every year, and it is growing. There's a lot of great micro racing out in California, out on the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, up at Deming Speedway. There's a lot of those types of racetracks now all across the country, and Millbridge is yet another one of those events and venues that really lend itself to kids coming up. That's where we see the growing talent like Gavin Buechele and Brent Cruz and some of these young drivers that we've seen win races here in our part of the world that grew up around Millbridge. So these kids, Brent Cruz and Gavin Buechele, were already stars before this week. So we've gotten acquainted with these young kids. Hey, Lee, I want to...
Well, and they were racing against Frank Flood, right?
Yeah.
Or Fred...
Frank.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was, that's cool
Right.
for them, too.
Absolutely. Frank Flood made a trip out there, so how about that? Hey, I want to ask you about the Indy 500 this weekend. We had a couple of incidents in Carb Day practice yesterday. Colton Herta got upside down, and we had another incident involving David Malukas, who got into it with Santino Ferrucci and got into the wall. So your thoughts
Poor
about...
Ferrucci.
Yeah. Your thoughts about the Indy 500 tomorrow?
Well, this is the way I see it. If Jimmy Johnson can be, he's running for rookie honors. He is fastest rookie. If he can beat Kurt Busch's, finish what he did when he went back a couple of years, because, I mean, let's face it, Kurt had a one-off, and Jimmy's been racing with them for a year now, right? He hasn't raced ovals. He's raced on road courses. So if he can beat Kurt Busch's deal, then that will be a success. Kurt Busch's mark, that'll be a success. As far as who wins the race, I've got to go with a veteran. Tony Kanaan, Dixon. I mean, when you saw Elio win again, I mean, these are stories that make it classic. I've been to several Indy 500s, and when I retire and I'm just a race fan, being able to be there in 3 hours from our Midwest home, that'll be a cool deal. But if you've never gone before and you're a race fan, it has to top the bucket list. I mean, because there is no feeling, and I will argue with, all stock car people, there is no feeling like the feeling you get when you go through the tunnel at 16th and Georgetown for the day of the Indy 500. I have only been there once to hear the cannon go off, because it is at the crack of dawn. And but I will tell you that is such an iconic place and such an iconic event. To me, I love Monaco, don't get me wrong, and I will be a junkie locked to I was watching F1 practice earlier, but I will be glued to the TV set until I have to leave for Charlotte tomorrow. And, once I walk away from this, which will probably be never, but I will be a regular at the Indy 500.
Well, Indy 500 is the greatest race in the world in my book, and I love every other kind of racing that there is, but there's nothing that matches the Indy 500. Nope. I've been there a couple of times. Nope. I've experienced all of that. And
so you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely, I know what you're talking about. And there's just no other event. There's no other sporting event like the Indy 500.
You get goosebumps. I mean, just pulling up to the place. It's utterly amazing. I wish they could find the magic for NASCAR there. I think they'd be better off racing in IRP. I know, it's hard to say, but I love IRP or whatever they're calling it. I think it's Lucas Oil Raceway.
Yep.
Is that what it is? Is it LOR?
Yep.
But nothing can come close to comparing to the greatest spectacle in racing.
Todd, you want to weigh in?
I was just going to say that's one of my bucket list things. I actually got to take.
Gotta go, Todd.
Yeah, me and my mom before she passed made a trip to the museum there and got to do.
Oh, that's fabulous
and
too, isn't it?
It was really cool, like you said, and we were able to spend many hours there because my mom was doing some medical tests out of town. So anyway, we got to do the ride along on the track with the bus driver that takes you around the thing. And we were the only ones. It was so early in the morning. We were the only one. He let us get out, and I kissed the bricks and touched them and all that. I mean, things that you don't normally do. It's just something that's been on TV since you were a little kid, and that makes it so special. But when you walk into that place, it's awe. That's all I got to say.
There's no other sporting event in the world that matches the pre-race ceremony and the pageantry that leads up to the green flag of this event. I mean, that is almost as thrilling as the race itself is all the lead up to the green flag.
I mean, the other cool thing about it is they're still, think about what Dixon did this last week. They're still setting speed records at the place. I mean, this was proving grounds for, Chevrolet back in the early days, right? I mean, It was like turn of the century. And I mean, it is just absolutely such an incredible place. You get all the feels when you walk in there. It's kind of like Wrigley, Fenway, Lambeau all rolled into one.
And, in recent years, the racing itself has lived up to the hype. We've seen some great Indy 500s in recent years.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it never disappoints. I mean, it just doesn't disappoint. And, I can't wait to go back. I mean, it wasn't in the cards because too much on our plate this year, but I can't wait to go back. And a shout out to my girlfriend Judy Dominic, who got the Robin Miller Award for her service to motorsports.
Oh, great! I know Judy. Great, that's well deserved.
It is. It's thoroughly deserved. Her dedication to racing in general, but just what she's done for the media over the years. Is second to none. And there couldn't have been a better person selected for the Robin Miller Award than Judy Dominic.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. She's a great lady and well-deserved. Any final thoughts here? I know we got to let you go.
The Jim Chapman Award went to Steve Shunk and Amy Walsh, who has been working with Jimmy Johnson. Also well-deserved awards. But I just, this is the best, my favorite weekend of the year. Would have been even higher up on the list had the Blues won.
I'm with you. They spoiled us the other night when they came from 3 down to come back and force another game in this series. So
they're like the cardiac cards. You know that record that they have, that when the Cardinals win, the Blues lose, and when the Cardinals won, it was like, oh no.
Well, we didn't have her great goalie there, so that's an excuse, but. It is what it is. Colorado's probably going to win it all now. So
they're so quick. I mean, they are so quick. I mean, they're just they're an amazing team to watch. They're fast. They're brutal. They took out all the goalies. I won't use that as an excuse, but it sure as heck didn't help the Blues' chances.
Lee, thanks a lot. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be reading your stuff.
I will. You guys do too. Thanks
all right.
for having me on, Kirk.
Take care. Thank you. There she is, Lee Spencer. And again, the scoop page at racingboys.com. You can read all of her stuff. And we appreciate all she does for us. When we come back, we are going to run an interview it's at least a portion of an interview that Scott had on Mostly Motorsports earlier this week with Barry Braun, one of the big movers and shakers in the video business, and what the future lies in that. And a little bit later on in the hour, Billy Rock will check in from Wheatland, where the Show Me 100 is going on this weekend. All of that and more as Track Talk continues here on a Saturday morning. Glad you're with us.
Track Talk.
It's Jim at Smokin' Fire. For 22 years, we have been the go-to shop for all things barbecue. May is barbecue month. To celebrate, Smokin' Fire has made special purchases throughout the store with awesome savings just for you. As always, buy 5 and get the 6th food item free. Smokin' Fire is your one-stop shop for over 22 years. Think family, think friends, think Smokin' Fire.
We ask Kansans about their driving habits. Trayvon, do you always wear your seatbelt?
Yeah. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
What would your grandma say if she caught you driving or riding without one?
She'd be like, I taught you better than that, boy.
Click it, Kansas. If not for yourself, for Grandma. A message from the Kansas Department of Transportation and your Kansas law enforcement community.
Let's plan on having concessions over there.
Mike is remodeling the old family drive-in movie theater.
Go find Gavin. Tell him the sound team is here.
He'll need a new front-of-house cast and behind-the-scenes crew.
Hey, can we talk staffing real quick? I'm thinking at least 6 per shift.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The 30th Annual ESPY Awards are coming in July to help honor Kansas City's outstanding players and coaches in our community. You can make a nomination now at 810WHB.com or go to the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page to fill out the submission form. See the official rules and categories and earn extra nominations by sharing your nominee stories using the hashtag 810ESPYs. The honorary ESPYs are back. Make your nominations today.
This is David Hughes, General Manager of Aristocrat Motors Pre-Owned of Lee's Summit. We are seeing a well-documented change in interest rates, and it will affect your car payments if you wait. So if you want out of a lease, need something newer, or something different, come check out our amazing selection of pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. Just in time to beat the interest rate hike. Time is of the essence. Make your selection today at Aristocrat Motors Pre-Owned Lee's Summit, 704 Southeast Oldham Port, Lee's Summit, Missouri, or online at aristocratmotorsls.com.
It's official, summer is almost here. The sun is getting brighter, the days are getting longer, and your yard is ready for some love. Make sure your flower beds and bushes can handle the heat with special savings on Earthgrow mulch. Keep the sun off your soil and water in the ground, plus add a fun pop of color that will last up to 12 months. Hurry in. Earthgrow mulch, 5 bags for just $10. Feels like Memorial Day at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Valid May 19th to 30th. In-store only. Color selection varies by store. Limit 75 per customer.
Welcome back. Kirk Elliott here, flying solo on a Saturday morning. Scott Traylor is in Eldon, Missouri, Lake Ozark Speedway. Getting ready for tonight's Lucas Oil ASCS event. Been since March since we've seen a Lucas Oil ASCS event, but tonight is the night. After last night was rained out, they've got the Lucas Oil Wing Sprint cars. They've got the POWRi Midgets, POWRi Non-Wing Sprint cars, and 305 Sprints tonight, all out at Lake Ozark Speedway. So a big night there. And I'm headed down to Wheatland for the Show Me 100. So big night all the way around here in this area before we get to tomorrow's big races. Mostly motorsports can be seen and heard at noon every day with Scott Traylor as the host. It's podcast. You can find it wherever you can download podcasts, mostly motorsports. And an interview that Scott had earlier this week was with Barry Braun, who is the big promoter of the XR Late Model series. It's putting up big money all across the country. He's been in the streaming business for a long time, now gotten into the promotions business. And he was one of the guys on the ground floor of streaming live video of these motorsports events. The most interesting conversation that Scott had with Barry Braun earlier this week. Let's listen to a portion of it.
All right, well, let's talk about the big topic, North Wilkesboro coming back to life. I know you're going to be the promoter of that. There's going to be some pavement races, then there's going to be some dirt races. Take us through this a little bit, would you, Barry?
Yeah, so last year in March, during the Bristol NASCAR weekend, my wife and I stopped by North Wilkesboro. Much like anybody else, we broke in, and we walked the track. And I say that, again, I'm kind of making fun of myself.
No, I know that, yeah.
They knew we were going to stop, and at all times with Speedway Motorsports, we're talking about different ideas and concepts, and they thought I was a little bit unhinged talking about Wilkesboro, and I'm like, no, I want to go take a look at it. I want to do a site survey and see if it's viable. At that time, we did that. We walked about 10 feet, and I turned to my wife, and I said, you know what needs to happen here, right? And she's like, yeah, I know exactly what you're thinking. You want to run this track. And I'm like, yeah, just look at it. And again, it goes back, Scott, to having opportunity. And we had just come off of Bristol Dirt Nationals year one, which was wildly successful. And at that point, it's, well, what do you do next? And it's not a money thing. It's like, what do you do next with these opportunities? And that's where, I was very confident. I still am very confident. In fact, even more so now, getting to know the folks of the area and the racers and all that it's the right thing to do. Yeah. To give you the Cliff Notes version, it turned into a process where we met with Marcus Smith. We chatted with him about it. He went on the Dale Jr. download, and then everything kind of domino effect from there, which actually turned into state funding and a number of other things that was just kind of a convenient, nice, scenario, I guess, that they ended up getting $18 million in funding to not only improve the place, but to, bring it back. And that wasn't my idea. I mean, my idea was to bring it back for a special event, much like a Bristol Dirt Nationals, and run it as a dirt track. Mm-hmm. And this was all a byproduct of this conversation and the hype and things that built around it, because at the end of the day, and I think even as of last night, you could see it, North Wilkesboro was trending on Twitter last night for no other reason than the fact that people are very excited about it, and they want to bring the All-Star race there now. Right. Again, very convenient byproduct of what we're doing. I've always said it's, we are a conduit to help make this happen. And what happens after we do this year is completely up to them, but I will support them 100%. And this is awesome for racing. It's awesome as race fans. 25 years later, when we were all let down, when North Wilkesboro was shut down, now to see it come back it's tremendous.
What is the total budget for the renovation for North Wilkesboro? What do you think it's going to take in the end? You mentioned $18 million, but is that enough?
What they have earmarked, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
$18 million is probably going to be a start. You're right about that.
Yeah.
Some of the revenue that's made this year will go right back into the facility. And I think that, Scott, the biggest thing is that they realize where it's at and what the facility can be realistically now. I know the romantic idea is to get NASCAR back there and a number of other things, but there's so many challenges with that facility. And from a facility standpoint, it's wonderful. But from an infrastructure standpoint, it might not be achievable in 2023 or 24 or into the future. It's just not. It was in 1996 when it was closed down. I mean, it had those challenges then.
Mm-hmm.
How would that changed in 25 years when nothing's been changed with, the roads around there and a number of other things? So the reality of it is, I don't know if necessarily it will ever be as big as people want it to be.
Right.
But at the end of the day, as race fans, it's going to be operational. And really, that's all that matters.
That is Barry Braun, and you just heard a portion of that interview that Scott had on Mostly Motorsports. Fascinating interview. He gets into some other topics and the future of live streaming that he knows quite a bit about. And if you want to listen to the entire interview, just go to the Mostly Motorsports banner at the top of the RacingBoys.com page. Click that and go to where that was earlier this week. That was on Monday of this week. So check out that entire interview. Very fascinating. Hey, at I-70 Motorsports Park this weekend, they've had the 305 Nationals. Night one last night. Monty Ferreira wins the feature event. Last night, they had 28 cars out there. They're going to be doing it again tonight. We're going to talk with Ray Cunningham exclusively on RacingBoys.com, Hour 2, up on all the social networks, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitter Live. And Ray will give us an update on what's going on out there. And also last night, need to mention that Bobby Santos III completed the sweep, held off Cody Swanson to win the Silver Crown race at Lucas Oil Raceway Park just outside of Indy last night, and won both the Midgets and the Silver Crown on Carb Night at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. So congratulations to him. When we come back, we're going to talk dirt late model racing. The Show Me 100 finishes off tonight down at Lucas Oil Speedway. We'll talk with Billy Rock from Wheatland when we come back here on Track Talk. Thanks for being with us.
Talk.
The 14th annual Rock Chalk Round Ball Classic is almost here. This June, join more than 40 former Jayhawks returning to Lawrence to raise money for 5 local families battling pediatric cancer. It all gets going Thursday, June 9th at Free State High for our annual celebrity basketball game. Tickets are on sale now at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence, Johnny's Tavern in Topeka, and Johnny's Tavern locations in Kansas City at Power & Light, Ridgeview, and Prairie Village. The fun continues on Friday, June 10th with our Round Ball Celebrity Dinner presented by Johnny's. A Jayhawk star will be at each table and 5 up on the mic telling the greatest untold stories of KU hoops. Finally, the weekend wraps up with our 2nd annual Round Bowl Classic at Boyle-Crest Lanes presented by Jefferson's. For details on all 3 events, log on to our website, rockchalkroundballclassic.com.
Let's plan on having concessions over there.
Mike is remodeling the old family drive-in movie theater.
Go find Gavin. Tell him the sound team is here.
He'll need a new front-of-house cast and behind-the-scenes crew.
Hey, can we talk staffing real quick? I'm thinking at least 6 per shift.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Hot Tub Sale. We have hot tubs coming in every week. No need to wait for months. Come get your dream hot tub today. Family Leisure also has pools in stock for spring installation. Don't go another summer without a pool for your family. Come in and see our huge selection of patio furniture. Family Leisure is your one-stop shop for pool tables, shuffleboard, bar stools, and home theater seating. All priced to go. Mention 810 and save more at Family Leisure in Olathe.
913-888-7727. Awesome!
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Next to your vehicle's engine, your transmission is the most important component of your car. If it's not properly maintained, your car may not shift properly. By adding Lucas Transmission Fix to your transmission, it cleans and lubricates sticking valves for proper shifting, renews worn bands to stop slipping, stops seal leaks, will not void new car warranties, contains no harmful solvents. Lucas Transmission Fix. It works.
Well, one of my favorite events of the year is this weekend. Memorial Weekend means it's Show Me 100 time. And tonight is the big show down at Lucas Oil Speedway, the Diamond and Dirt tracks. And our good buddy Billy Rock is in Wheatland right now. And let's talk dirt late model racing last night. And Billy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you getting up this morning.
Appreciate it, Kirk. No problem. Looking forward to another good night tonight. 63 cars checked in last night.
Boy.
So I think they said that was 10 better than what we had a year ago. And with the fuel crisis and everything, that's a pretty amazing number to have.
It is, no doubt about it. Well, I'm sure the drivers and the team owners probably didn't like it so much last night, but we race fans who don't have any money invested in these cars loved the racing last night. Man, what a show. Johnny Scott picking up that win last night. Man, that was some kind of racing he had with Jonathan Davenport.
Tell you what, Kirk, 40 laps, 7 lead changes between the duo. Phenomenal back-and-forth battle. You know, early in that race, Johnny could get the lead for a lap or two, and JD would immediately jump back on that top side and just take the lead back. It was a great back-and-forth battle, but, you know, Johnny was persistent to work that bottom side. You had JD working the top side. We had some lap traffic thrown in there. We had a racetrack that had a good fair share of rain on Thursday that obviously put a lot more character in that racetrack than anybody wants to see last night. But at the end of the day, Johnny was able to prevail on that bottom side and picked up a 2.5-second win over JD to set up the front row for tonight's Show Me 100.
And really, let's be honest, Billy, there really wasn't much you could do with that racetrack after all the rain that's occurred and on Thursday to get it any smoother. They did about as well as they could do with that track, given the circumstances.
You know they did, Kirk, and it was one of the things, talking to the track prep folks on Thursday, they said, you know, this light rain is the worst thing that could happen. We would rather see a 10-minute downpour that put down an inch of rain because it'll hit the racetrack and run right off. That was a soaking rain. It was just an all-day, all-night rain that just was a soaker, and hopefully they'll have an opportunity today to get it opened up a little bit. Obviously, they were working on it late last night, so they're going to do everything they can to get us a good 100-lap feature in tonight, and I know the fans are going to be in for a treat here regardless.
Yeah, you know, you give it another full day of sunshine, and it's going to be a better track tonight, no doubt about that, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like I said, we've got to go 100 laps tonight. There was a lot of character, a lot of shots in it last night, but, you know, you got guys like Johnny Scott, and he prevailed. You had some good charges through the field last night. You know, you look at a couple of guys in the top 5. You know, your defending race winner, Hudson O'Neill, drove his way up there, I believe, to the 4th position. As far as Ricky Thornton Jr., he came from the exact same row, came all the way up there and had himself a good top 5 run. So there was lots of passing last night. We've officially locked in the top 18 finishers from last night since we did not have a Thursday night qualifying night. So the top 18 are locked in. We'll have 3 B mains tonight. We'll take 2 cars out of each of those, and then we'll also have the always fun Midwest Sheet Metal Show Me Challenge. That'll pull out one more driver and give them an opportunity to take $2,500 and go home or turn that money down and start shotgun on the field.
Well, you know, you're the voice of the MLRA, and your series has really stood up pretty well to the national tour at this event. A couple of years ago, you had Peyton Looney win this event. Now Johnny Scott stepping up last night. Man, you know, your guys are holding up pretty well against these touring guys that all go across the nation.
You know, it sure makes you feel pretty good for our guys, you know, to show that we've got some pretty stout competition that follows the Lucas Oil MLRA series. You know, we've been averaging, you know, Mother Nature's got us just like everybody else, but, you know, 4 events, we're over 35 car average. So you throw Chad Simpson in there, sets the overall quick time last night. That was another little feather in the cap for the MLRA side of things. And I think we've got 3 drivers already locked in. Colby Vandenberg, leading rookie driver for the MLRA series, had a top 10 finish last night. I mean, he is a very, very bright spot to the season, a driver out of Highland, Illinois, that kind of a surprise, late decision to join the rookie battle, and he has just been a phenomenal addition to the tour this season.
This is a 100-lap race, and everybody who's watched 100-lap late model races know that things change during the course of 100 laps, and this is going to be no different tonight. Just kind of talk about what do you think the strategy is going to be, regardless of where these guys start in this race, because you can start, you know, well back in the field and still have a pretty good shot of working your way up through there.
Yeah, you know, this is one of these things, everybody after the races last night, you talk to them, and you can throw out the notebook from Friday night. Obviously, we're hoping that nothing you learned last night will apply to tonight. Right. It's going to be a totally different racetrack. I think it's going to be one of those situations. I've had a lot of guys say, you know, it's going to be a fast pace. They're going to get out front and go. And I got to look at some of the veterans. I mean, Jimmy Owens was Mr. Quiet last night, 4-time winner of the Show Me 100. He will start, I believe, in the 3rd spot tonight. That's a pretty good starting spot for a guy that's a veteran like Jimmy Owens. Jonathan Davenport as well had himself a good run last night. So I like those 2 veterans right there. But like guys have told me in the past, we've seen guys like Chris Simpson come out of that Show Me Challenge and come all the way up to, I believe, 3rd. Bobby Pierce has done it inside the top 5 before. So We got Tyler Erb, guys, second in the national standings for Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. Didn't make the show last night. No provisionals, so he didn't make the show. So that's going to be one guy on a national standpoint to watch tonight. He might be one of those guys that struggled last night. Maybe he can get into the show tonight and work his way up through there and put on a big show at the end of this thing.
You know, Hudson O'Neill's the defending winner of this race, and how impressive he was a year ago. But the guy I was really focused on last night that I thought for a good deal of the race was the fastest car on the racetrack was Ricky Thornton Jr.
Ricky came up through there, and I tell you what, a phenomenal battle there, those last 10, 15 laps between him and Ashton Winger, as well as Hudson O'Neill, back and forth, high-low. I mean, it was great. It just depended on who set up their corner the best that was going to come off that corner as the leader in that little battle. But Ricky is a guy that he obviously won the World Dirt Track Championships last year. He knows how to win these big races. Would not surprise me one bit if we're sitting here talking about Ricky Thornton Jr. In Victory Lane here a little bit later on tonight. He is definitely a young guy, and that's another thing you could look at. If this track gets a little bit of character in it tonight, typically these young guys throw a little caution to the wind, and they don't care quite as much about as being smooth and consistent as some of your JDs and Jimmy Owens. So if there's character in this, I could very easily see this racetrack turning into a young guy's show tonight. And, you know, one thing on a side note with Johnny Scott we've talked about, he's been out of commission for almost a month. Injured his back after the last Lucas Oil MLRA race, so this is his first time back since he raced the Spring National. So he was a little tender on that last night, obviously getting in and out of the car. I think a lot of it's adrenaline right now, but to see how he feels today and how he feels after 100 laps, we're hoping for the best for the young man.
He's going to be sore waking up this morning, no doubt about that. So hopefully he can get limbered up and get back in there tonight. But, yeah, that's quite an accomplishment after having all those back problems. Two other drivers I want to talk about. Garrett Albertson coming from 24th to 8th, and Chris Ferguson. Looks like his night was done earlier. He came from 18th and got a top 10 finish after he had some problems.
Yeah, you know, Garrett, another MLRA guy from a year ago, had a phenomenal run from the back. Didn't look like he was going to make the show there for a little bit. Had to come through consolation action after having a good qualifying effort. So he's a guy that he's got some experience around this racetrack, and he's one of those guys that he can find himself to the front. He had a great top 5 run at the 34 Raceway in Burlington with the Lucas Late Model Dirt Series last Sunday night. So he's kind of on a little bit of a swing of momentum. And then you look at Ferguson. I mean, that's a guy that honestly he has always ran good at the Lucas Oil Speedway. It's just one of those guys. Sometimes you have a guy goes to a certain track and they find their liking to that track, and I think he's one of those guys. He's a guy that he's won the Diamond Nationals before. He's a guy that knows how to get around the Lucas Oil Speedway, and he's somebody that's very capable of getting himself in the show. And like you say, a lot of guys will tell you, you can throw out the starting position tonight. It's nice to start up front, but you don't have to start up front to win this thing tonight.
One guy I thought was going to get a good finish was Mike Marlar, and he had an issue last night and looked a little bit winded when he crawled out of that race car. Is he okay?
I believe Mike is probably going to be okay. He was definitely winded. Sounded like the car bicycled going into turn 1. We've seen a little fire underneath there, and that's what the red flag was prompted for. He quickly got out of the car and just kind of told the safety guys, just give me a minute. You know, I need a minute to kind of catch my breath. So I think Mike is all right. Sounds like it was just a very hard hit. You know, when you get that car up and it slams back down, sound like the floor pan was kind of shoved up a little bit. So fortunate, but yeah, Mike was able to walk away. But yeah, he's a guy that kind of I had my fingers on as an odds-on favorite this weekend. Had a great shot, and he was doing what he had to do last night to get him in position for tonight. Just unfortunate. It looks like his weekend is comes to an early end.
McCready looked like he struggled a little bit last night, that feature.
Yeah, you know, Tim struggled in that feature. He came up through there a little bit. I'm sure not to his liking, and I think Tim's another one of those guys that likes the smooth. He's a good smooth driver, and last night was definitely not a track to be a smooth driver on. It was a hammer down, get in and go. So, yeah, he struggled as well as, your current Lucas point leader. Brandon Shepard really struggled, and he's kind of struggled there. He's a runner-up a year ago, but he kind of had his struggles last night too, and he's locked in the show, but he's gonna have to come from a respectable spot there about mid-grid tonight.
Current points leader right now, Brandon Shepard. That's we're not used to seeing the Rocket 1 with on the series. They decided to go with the Lucas Oil Late Model Series this year. Brandon was there last year. Wasn't he there driving his own car last year, or his family car?
he was in the family of the B5 last year. This is the first time that the actual Team Rocket has actually ever been to Lucas Oil Speedway.
That's
so
what I thought.
First for these guys.
Yeah, so that's a little bit different, seeing him out there. But, what a great car count last night. Yeah, I was kind of curious to see what the actual car count would be, but 63, man, that, I guess the World of Outlaw late models got rained out over the weekend, so I don't know if we pulled any of those guys over, but that's a tremendous turnout car count-wise with the fuel prices and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, it's a great count, and I don't think you picked up any Outlaw guys. I mean, they kind of waited till the last minute for their reasons to cancel that, so we didn't really have a chance to pick anybody up there. But I think, like a lot of people will tell you, this is the Show Me 100, and everybody wants that shot. They want to come to the Show Me 100, whether the gas is $5 or $6 a gallon, whatever it is. People are going to come to Show Me because it is an event. And what they've got going on tonight down here with the Aaron Tippin pre-race and all the glitz and the glamour, this has really turned into a Super Bowl type atmosphere. I mean, the crowd last night was one of the best Friday night crowds I have probably ever seen since I've been coming down here. So that makes me really optimistic that if you're coming out here tonight, you better get out here early, enjoy some of the midway stuff, and have a good time, because it's going to be an absolute awesome evening here at the Lucas Oil Speedway tonight.
Yeah, I kind of equate this to the Knoxville Nationals in the way that there's so much activity going on all day long around there that it really pays to get there early, because there's got so much going on in the afternoon, and so get there early. You won't be bored waiting for the races, that's for sure.
No, that is for sure. I know Danny Lorton had mentioned one of his social media posts. He's never had this many people on the midway since he's been doing it before, whether that's T-shirts, it's products, it's fun and games for the kids, bounce houses, all kinds of stuff. And, great opportunity to come down and go through the pits here early afternoon as well. So it's just a win-win situation, and the weather's not like Thursday. It is absolutely beautiful, and it's going to be a great night.
And you got the USRA Modifieds in action, too. That'll run after everything is over with, right?
Yeah, correct. Another 1,500 to win feature for those guys tonight. So, yeah, it's going to be a complete Lucas Oil show straight through. I think the feature will probably go off around 9 o'clock. I'm trying to coordinate that with TV and everything. Yep. And then, obviously, after that, we'll turn the Modifieds loose and let them go at it and finish out the 30th annual Show Me 100.
If you can't be there, MAV TV's got it on live, MAV TV Plus. But better to be there. It is a great place to go watch racing. Billy, thanks for checking in. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Kirk.
All right, take care, Billy Rock, voice of the MLRA. Who's your pick of the Indy 500 there, Todd?
Well, my sentimental pick will be Helio Castro Neves.
Yeah.
That's who I'm wanting to win and make a record-breaking win. But Tony Kanaan, probably.
I'm going to go with Scott Dixon.
Yeah, Dixon's way too. I mean, 5-1 odds or 4-1.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks to Blake Schneiders back at Sports Radio 810 Studios. I'm Kirk Elliott. For my buddy Scott Traylor, 15. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy this big Memorial weekend of racing.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Jeff Briggs with Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Hey, thanks a lot, Blake.
Our pledge to drive down.
Y'all have a great weekend, all right?
You too. Take care.
Something new sales event.
Enjoy and be safe.
Will do.
And interest rates remain close to all-time lows, plus trade values are bringing more than ever. It's a great time to buy. We know it's hard to...
Taking care of your car is a responsibility. It ensures the long life of your car and its expensive components. That's why Lucas Oil takes automotive protection so seriously. Lucas heavy-duty oil stabilizer bonds with motor oil to shield engines from heat and wear. So take pride in caring for your car and pass that pride and knowledge to the next generation for years of smooth, reliable driving on the long road ahead. Trust Lucas Oil. It works.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
At Lucas Oil, we take pride in creating problem-solving products to make your car care easier. We protect your vehicle and make it run longer so you can focus on the things that matter most. Whether it's commuting to work, visiting a loved one, taking the kids where they need to go, going to the big game, or anywhere life takes you, Lucas Oil is committed to getting you there for all of life's important moments. Lucas Oil, it works.
Zurich Specialty Sportswear in-house. We do all of the screen printing, all the embroidery. We do some vinyl. The other ad specialty items like your pens, magnets, notepads, calendars. You can actually buy that to build your business to make it larger. We have the largest screen printing process and the largest embroidery anywhere around in the area. We can do stuff all the way from your school clubs to sports teams, a professional look in the office. If you can imagine it, we can do it for you.
One of the main reasons for poor vehicle performance is a dirty fuel system. It can cause decreased fuel economy and actually do harm to your engine over time. By adding Lucas Fuel Treatment to your vehicle, it cleans and lubricates the entire fuel system, pump, carburetors, fuel injectors, and valves as you drive. It also improves your vehicle's performance. It's a non-solvent product designed to protect both gasoline and diesel engines. Lucas Fuel Treatment. It works.
Cigarport.ca is your go-to online store for exclusive cigars produced from the best quality tobacco in the world. There is less than 1/100th of an inch of motor oil protecting your car's engine. Friction and heat causes engine oil to experience thermal breakdown, weakening its ability to protect the engine and its parts. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer is specially formulated to resist thermal breakdown, protect vital engine parts, and extend the life of your engine. It also stops smoking, knocking, and oil consumption in worn engines. Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer. Keep that engine alive.
Missouri's must play getaway. Osage National Golf Resort.
3 9-hole courses to choose from at the Lake of the Ozarks in the Osage River Valley. Stay and play packages in our first-class condos. A beautiful clubhouse complete with pro shop and exercise facilities. A large pool for relaxation and families. The Eagle View Sports Bar and Grill. Great wedding facilities. Go online and make your tee time today.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum. And our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, sprintcarstuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Next to your vehicle's engine, your transmission is the most important component of your car. If it's not properly maintained, your car may not shift properly.
By adding Lucas Transmission Fix to your transmission, it cleans and lubricates sticking valves for proper shifting, renews worn bands to stop slipping, stops seal leaks, will not void new car warranties, contains no harmful solvents. Lucas Transmission Fix. It works.
Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and if you're not listening to the Racing Boys, then you've got some sort of head problems. You gotta listen to the Racing Boys. Get her done!
Welcome to Hour 2 of Track Talk on the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network. Brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Made in America, sold to the world. Here again are the Racing Boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Kirk Elliott along with Todd Surprise and just the two of us here in the Racing Boys studios. Scott Traylor and lovely Deidre are enjoying the weekend down in the Lake of the Ozarks. And it's going to be at the races tonight, so we thought we'd let him just hang out and enjoy the day.
Get some sleep.
There's going to be no Mostly Motorsports on Monday. They're taking the day off, but episode 100 is going to be on Tuesday.
100 episodes.
You want to make sure you're tuned in for that.
Went
12
fast.
noon,
Went
Tuesday.
Fast. 100 episodes in the book already, Cook.
Isn't that something?
It's a lot of episodes.
That is. It started at the Monday of the Chili Bowl.
That's right.
And here we are. 100 episodes on Tuesday. Again, no show on Monday.
That's right.
Everybody taking the day off. I thought I might head up north to Iowa on Monday.
There you go.
See the family.
Well, be careful heading up there. We know there's a lot of traffic on the roads on this holiday weekend, so definitely want to be careful on that.
And the phone is ringing. We think that's Ray Cunningham, who is a guru of open wheel racing. He was out at I-70 Motorsports Park last night watching the first night of the 305 Nationals. We'll get his take on that and all other open wheel racing that's going on this weekend with Ray Cunningham here in a couple of minutes. We've got a segment from Scotty Cook who talks about Jesse Hockett. It was 12 years ago on Thursday. We lost Jesse Hockett, and Scotty Cook was a good friend of Jesse, and Mostly Motorsports earlier this week, he reminisced about the late, great Jesse Hockett and some great stories there, and we'll play that entire interview coming up here in a few minutes. We've also got a segment with Steve Post from Motor Racing Network. He joins Scott every Wednesday on Mostly Motorsports. We'll hear a portion of this past week's interview. And Robert Ballou, who won at Terre Haute
almost a
this
regular
past weekend. Well, he's been winning on a regular basis. So anytime he wins, we've been getting him on.
Get him on. So we have Scott Traylor going to join us, and then we'll bring Ray Cunningham. So let's bring in Scott Traylor.
Scott Traylor. I thought maybe you were going to be sleeping in this morning.
Well, I'm down here at the Osage National Golf Course, hanging out on the patio, just enjoying the beautiful weather down here at the Lake of the Ozarks. It's a beautiful day. It's going to be nice and warm, and the track's going to dry out. We're going to have some good racing down at the Lake Ozarks Speedway tonight.
Awesome. So tonight, what do you expect? We haven't seen the national tour on the series since March.
Well, yeah, 2 nights at Devil's Bowl, 2 nights at Little Rock. They get rained out the first night down here at the Lake Ozark Speedway. It's, I don't know what to expect, to be honest with you, Kirk. I didn't go by and look at the track yesterday, so I'm not sure what the track conditions are. But I think that we're going to have some pretty good racing here. This is the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour. There's a lot of great drivers. You think about the defending champion Blake Hahn, Dylan Westbrook, Seth Bergman. There's going to be a lot of the top-name drivers. Wayne Johnson's going to be there. There's a lot of guys contending for the championship this year. I think it's going to be a good race, and I'm looking forward to it. I really didn't want much. I just wanted to call in and say hi. That's all I really wanted to say.
We did, but you got us all juiced up now for the big races tonight. This is going to be there's 4 classes of cars tonight, right? What do you got, midgets and non-wing sprints and 305s all in one night?
Yeah, you got four classes of cars down here tonight. It's going to be non-wing sprint cars, midgets, wing sprint cars and 305. So there's going to be a lot of sprint car action, and you can watch it on. I believe they're going to watch it on Race on Texas. Those guys are doing the broadcast with the national tour now, and
on Flow too, right?
On Flow as well,
Yeah.
so you can watch it tonight.
Cool. And I think the MAV TV Plus has got the midget and non-wing portion, or how, I don't know how that works. So
I'm not sure. You just have to go search around and find out where it's at. But I'm not sure exactly, Kirk, how that works. But Race on Texas is the provider of these live streams now, and they run them through Flow. So I know you can watch it on Flow tonight.
There's a lot of places you can get it. We'll be watching tonight. Scott, thanks a lot for checking in. Enjoy the weekend, and you deserve it. You've been working hard.
Well, 6 days a week since January, I guess it was. So yeah, it's good. Deidre and I are having a good time. We went down to Bagnell Dam last night, had a good time listening to some music. So yeah, it was a good time. So we're looking forward to some racing tonight, though.
And we got to remind everybody.
I'll see you later.
I remind everybody, Scott, before you go, taking Monday off, episode 100 on Tuesday. So.
That's right. Isn't that hard to believe, Kirk? Already episode 100.
You got a special show lined up too. So I don't know exactly everything's going to happen, but make sure you tune in.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to be sitting in on it.
Okay.
With us, Kirk.
That's all good.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot to talk
That'll
about.
Be good.
No doubt. Thanks a lot, Scott.
Yeah. All right. See you later.
Say hi to Deidre. Enjoy the weekend. All right. There he is, Scott Traylor. And let's bring on Ray Cunningham right now, who was at, I think you were out at I-70 Motorsports Park last night, Ray?
Yes, sir.
How'd it go?
Well, they had 21 cars last night at I-70. The conditions were perfect for the 305 series, and they had a lot of the heavy hitters out there, especially from the United Rebel series and up in Nebraska. But unfortunately for Chad Freewall, one of the local racers from the Kansas City area, he was involved in a dust-up during his hot lap qualifying session. That eliminated him. So they pretty much raced the rest of the night with 20 cars. It was a pretty good feature event. Monty Ferreira, originally from California, now Lincoln, Nebraska, was the victor. He beat Jeremy Hewish. And then Jacob Dye was third, but he was light on the scales, and that moved Luke Cranston up to first place. Of course, last year Luke won the Belleville Nationals, and he also won this race. So he moved up to third place on this preliminary night.
So they had 28 cars, but you said there were a number of cars involved early that cut down that number once things got going, right?
No, there was 21 cars.
Oh, 21 cars.
And then they lost a car in the hot lap sessions. It was Chad Freewall.
I got you. 20. They had. I miscounted here. 21 cars. So, that's. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Like I say, a little bit of a short field, high quality. I mean, Stu Schneider was there, Luke Cranston, Jeremy Hewish, several of the top drivers of the 305 series from this area were there. Xavier Doney raced. He was going to run LOS last night in his non-wing car. He came and they raced the 305, usually ran by his sister Natalie, but he was at I-70. I know tonight, I believe they are planning on running 305s at Lake of the Ozarks. So I don't know what that's going to do as far as the car count at I-70, but I-70 pays a lot more money. Of course, this is the big night of that. And last night it was only sprint cars, and tonight they've added B-modifieds and USRA stock cars.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that they're going to have some other classes to kind of help fill things out a little bit. Are we at is I-70 maybe a product of the geographics of where the track is located that, we just don't have a ton of 305 sprint cars in this area? I mean, you go up into Nebraska, up around Lincoln, where Eagle Raceway runs these cars. Belleville, they have that. I mean, that's a huge event at 305. out in western Kansas, where the United Rebel Sprint Series is have been headquartered for a lot of years. You see a lot more cars out there. It might be just a product of geographics. Just I-70 is just an area where we just don't have a lot of 305 sprint cars.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big factor, I believe, especially in a season with, the issues we've had, of course, with supply chain, and then tires and gas and all these different situations. I'm sure that is not helpful. And then the fact that, like you said, there's only so many cars in Missouri.
Right.
Last night the Potters were there. Of course, we had some Missouri cars there, but the majority still came of those 21 cars from Kansas or Nebraska, even though they traveled great distances. I mean, I don't know if you know where Holcomb, Kansas is, but Luke Cranston from Holcomb, that's clear down by Garden City.
I know. Yeah, it's. I know exactly Holcomb. It's not. You ever see the movie In Cold Blood?
Yeah.
Right. That's where the Clutter family were located.
You know where Holcomb is.
Yeah, I know exactly where Holcomb is. That's some bad history from 1959.
Missouri.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so that's just what I'm talking about. Those guys still traveled, many of them from western Kansas, and a certain number from Nebraska, but still, and it was a Friday night. I mean, it's obviously the 305s. Those you talked about, the Stronghold, the United Rebel Series out in western Kansas, very familiar to the Racing Boys fan base, and also the Eagle, where they have the Nationals every year over a Labor Day weekend, and the strongest cars here. And another problem was, Jason Martin, who's been one of the top competitors in this series, and also we know over the years has ran 360s and 410s. He, I guess, his car owner, I believe, fell ill, and so he did not come Friday night. He's been one of the top drivers in 305s for many years, and so him not being able to come last night, of course, didn't help that situation either.
I see Xavier Doney's name listed here. Of course, we've seen him run non-wing sprint cars, but he was in a 305 sprint car last night.
Yeah, Xavier was racing the 305 that's usually ran by his sister Natalie. They did not have Natalie race last night at a I-70 Speedway, though, a bigger and faster track. I believe Natalie will be in that car tonight at LOS, and Xavier, of course, will be in his 410 non-wing sprint car of Design Source Flooring.
Well, with the 305s running at Lake Ozark, and you also got this at I-70. I wonder what the car count's going to be at both these places, but it is what, it's kind of too bad that they're running at both these racetracks on the same night, but I guess that it is what it is.
Unfortunately, this year it is what it is, and with all the different situations surrounding racing, it makes it even tighter, as we know, when cars that are of the same classification are racing against each other on the same night and in close proximity.
Are you going anywhere tonight? We got the tribute to Jesse Hockett at Double X Speedway on Sunday night. Are you heading anywhere tonight or tomorrow night? Rest of the weekend?
Well, tonight, I'm not sure. I mean, I have to work, so unfortunately a big weekend for where I work. But I will go somewhere tonight. It probably will be either I-70 again or maybe even possibly CMS, where they have the lightning sprints over there. They're expecting, I believe, last year they had over 40 cars, but once again, with the situations we're dealing with, I heard from one of the competitors that he thought it'd be more like 25 to 28. That'd still be a lot of lightning sprints over there to run at CMS with the regular classes that they're known for. And then, of course, I-70 once again racing tonight with the second night of the 305 Nationals, the bigger night of that. And then of course, in our area. LOS rained out last night. Tonight, they'll be running the midgets and the sprint cars and the wing sprint cars. And then tomorrow night, Double X, Sunday night. I am excited for that race as well because our non-wing sprint car drivers will get a challenge, Double X Speedway. And that's in honor, of course, to Jesse Hockett and the tribute race, which is always a big deal for the people around that area. And, of course, for Hockett Racing, which Jack Wagner and Samuel Wagner are on that race team.
Let's talk more about this event down at Central Missouri Speedway. Be tonight and tomorrow night. They're paying $1,000 to win the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprint feature event down there. And as you pointed out, Ray, last year was a good event as far as car counts are concerned. And it looks like that is a perfect racetrack to host this event. The size of Central Missouri Speedway, that's a good place to have it. At a track where historically they've had big events over the holiday weekends, and Central Missouri Speedway is going to be where it's at if you're a Midwest Lightning Sprint fan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a great event, and you're right. I've seen midgets and the Lightning Sprints both run at Central Missouri. They always put on great shows there, and I'm like you. I think that's a perfect venue to host this event, and hopefully, like last year, it'll be another great car count. From what I understand, they had a practice night last night, and 15 of the Mole Series cars under the POWRi banner were there last night just for the practice. So I definitely think, they'll have a really good field of cars like they did last year and put on a great show.
$1,000 to win tonight, $2,000 to win B-Mods tomorrow night, and $1,000 to win Power Super Stock feature tomorrow night. So there you go. That's the way it is. Second annual POWRi Lightning Sprint, $2,000 to win B-Mods tomorrow night. I'm just trying to get this straight. Do they just run? They don't run them tomorrow. They'd be just tonight, right? I'm trying to get this straight on the schedule down there at Central Missouri. Do they run both nights?
No, I thought it was a 2-day show.
That's what I thought.
Lightning Sprints. I thought. Let's see.
Yeah, it is a 2-day show. So there you go.
Right.
Yeah,
and
just want to get that straight down.
So tomorrow night, Sunday night. Typically, I mean, when we were growing up, Kirk, back in the day, Sunday night was a big race night. In this area, Olympic Stadium always ran. Marshall, Missouri, Saline County Speedway always ran. Eagle Raceway ran Sunday nights. And this Sunday night, from what I understand, Electric City has a late model race on Sunday night. You've got Central Missouri running, of course, their traditional race. You'll also have the Jesse Hockett Memorial. So in an area where typically Double X is the only place that races on a Sunday night in this area, we've got at least 3 programs that I know about in our vicinity for tomorrow night, which, like I say, back in the day when we were growing up, they were running all sorts of places on Sunday nights.
Yeah, I'm just confirming on the flyer. Yeah, it's both nights, the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints at Central Missouri Speedway. So just make
and
sure.
And that's why I think they'll, last year, draw more cars, though, from what I understand. Like any form of racing this year, people are concerned with car counts due to the situations we talked about, but I still think they'll show up with a great field of cars. When you're paying that kind of money for the Lightning Sprints, that's great, and you also have a 2-day show, so once they're at that venue, they don't have to travel from there, so that's also a good thing. And of course, for the non-wing and wing sprint car guys, when you're at LOS traveling over to Double X in California, is from Eldon, Missouri. That's not a great distance either, so I do think we're going to see some really good racing around our area over the next 2 nights.
Now, what about the USAC Midwest Sprint Association? What's the latest there? When's everything get going there?
Well, here's the deal. I mean, this morning I was looking over all the clubs, and I saw that so far only 2 war sprint car races had been run due to weather concerns, and so many organizations and clubs with fewer than 5 races run. But yes, the MWRA, unfortunately, we lost the race at US 36 earlier and the Beta Speedway, so we'll be kicking off our season next Friday and Saturday nights at 2 favorite tracks, US 36 Speedway on Friday night, which is an always great venue for open wheel racing, and then Valley Speedway, the home of open wheel racing in our area for so many years. That's where we're running on Saturday, so we're very excited to kick it off. Kirk, I don't know, whatever you guys got to do, we got to bring in some reverse situation on the rain dance or something, because the weather
it's been awful.
Has just really taken such a toll, and so I'm just crossing my fingers and my toes that we can finally get our season started next Friday and Saturday with 2 big shows at 2 of our favorite tracks that always produce great racing.
Absolutely. Hey, your thoughts, USAC Carb Night last night at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. Bobby Santos III sweeping both the midgets and Silver Crown last night. Pretty good action on the pavement at I call it IRP,
Santos,
but Lucas Oil Raceway Park.
Yeah, no, great racing, good car counts. I mean, you got to remember the midgets in USAC anymore. They used to be a part of the division. Now this is a special race, so they had a good turnout of cars and drivers in that, and Bobby Santos put on a show in that midget feature. And, he started 10th after the invert and then worked his way to the front, just put on a heck of a show. And then that Silver Crown race, that was just a great race.
That was a dandy.
From start to finish. And I was excited to see Taylor Ferns take that best ever finish for her, a 3rd place, getting on the podium. She's a good racer. And Bobby Santos, kind of like Cody Swanson, I don't understand how either one of those drivers didn't end up in one of the premier series of NASCAR. They are such great pavement drivers. And once again, the performance, and they found a way to drive that 100 laps without touching each other that I could tell, and running nose to tail the way they did and down to the finish. Just a great race for Bobby Santos and Cody Swanson, the champion so many times here in the USAC Silver Crown Series. And then, like I say, seeing Taylor Ferns get 3rd place, that's the highest finishing woman ever in the Silver Crown race. That was also exciting. She put on a great show. And I got to give a shout-out to one of our more local drivers, even though he's from Illinois, but he's raced with us a lot in this area. Mario Klauser got a 7th-place finish in the Silver Crown race last night. So it's cool to see him do that. But, yeah, that was great racing last night in Indianapolis.
And speaking of ladies, Taylor Ferns doing such a great job in the Silver Crown race last night. Earlier this week at Millbridge, Taylor Reimer doing a great job finishing up. I think she had a 2nd place finish down there at Millbridge the other night. The midget.
Yeah,
that was pretty
Millbridge in the Extreme Series midget.
Yeah.
Another great performance. Our lady drivers are kicking it into high gear and sprints and midgets and Silver Crown. We do have some very fine drivers in those divisions, and I'm not going to be surprised when we see some of these ladies take off even further. But, yeah, another great performance. I've always been impressed the last couple of years with Bryson, from, I believe she's from...
Kaylee Bryson, yeah.
Lawton.
Right, down in Oklahoma
Muskogee,
somewhere.
I'm trying to remember.
She won the B main at the Chili Bowl, and looked impressive doing it.
No, I've been impressed with her elevation in the sport. On the West Coast, they have Maria Kofer. She's a good driver. She's come back and raced a lot of times.
How about Jade Abedisian? How about her?
Yes, another one. I'm just seeing more and more. And last week, I ventured over with all the rainouts. I went to the Topeka Quarter Midget Association races, and the top driver there was a female. You might remember Jenny White back in the day racing at I-70 and I-44 and places like that. And
I do recall.
Very good driver. Her daughters were racing at this course last week, and they dominated. Michaela is her name, Michaela Makeaby, Jenny White's daughter. She won all 3 divisions that she raced in a car built by her grandfather. And then her little sister, McKenna, also won, I believe, 2 divisions. But they put on the best performances last week when I was at the Topeka Quarter Midget Association, which back in the day had drivers that included a lot of MWRA racers, Wyatt Burks, Heath Murray, Warren Johnson, Dylan Cadis. So a lot of, and we know, of course, history of quarter midget racing. Guys like Jeff Gordon was a big star. The Labonte brothers, several racers over time ran in that division. But I was impressed with the female drivers there as well.
Who's your pick to win the Indy 500?
I figured you were going to ask that. Now, I figured you had to go for Jack Harvey because he's driving the high V car, Kirk, and you being an Iowa kind of guy. I saw Harvey on there, but he's starting.
He's got a long way to go.
A long way to go. You know, the funny thing is, I mean, my heart says Ed Carpenter. I'd like to see an old school racer that I saw finish second at the Belleville Nationals and come from the midget and sprint car ranks win. But it seems like on race day, no matter how good, and Ed was in that Fast Six, it seems like no matter what happens, a bad pit stop or something happens to Ed, and, you know, he is not able to win. So, and even though obviously Castroneves is starting in the back, but we know how good he is at Indy.
That's Todd's pick. That's Todd's pick, by the way. Elio.
I'm sorry. I don't care where he's starting in this. It's kind of like Al Unser back in the day. It doesn't really matter to me where he starts. We know how smooth he is. We know he drives a good car with a good race team. I'm not going to be shocked if he comes through that field. Now, A.J. Foyt and Rick Mears, do they want him to get that W? They'll say they're fine with it, but I'm sure they wouldn't be. They have they like the status quo right now where they're all tied before wins.
Exactly.
I like him, but then you've got guys like Scott Dixon. We know what a standard he set at Ganassi Racing. It's hard to go against guys like that when you know how good they are. But, I mean, Elio, what can you say about that guy? Of the modern era of IndyCar racing, really nobody has been better at Indy than him, and it shows. He's got 4 of those Borg Warner trophies, and he could be that first 5-time winner.
Nobody is talking about Penske. The Chevrolets just haven't had it against the Hondas this year. But would anybody be surprised if Penske finds their way up there somehow, and somebody like Joseph Newgarden, nobody's talking about him, Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, but Joseph Newgarden is a guy that has won, a couple of IndyCar championships. He's won 2-3 times up at Iowa Speedway. He's won a lot of big races, but not the Indy 500. And we all know that speed. We all know that speed isn't everything at Indy. You got to get in and out of the pits, and you got to drive a good race. So,
well, and you also at Indy, like you say, pit stops are huge, and Penske's race team always does great pit strategy and great pit stops. Also, as that race wears on, we know it's still an endurance race, so they go a lot faster now, and it's consistently a lot faster throughout the day. But still, how's your car running in that last, what I call 50 laps? We know how the race changes during that time. And if those Penske cars are anywhere in the hunt, like you said, and they've done a great job with their pit stops all day, you just cannot count them out. I mean, remember, the captain now owns that track, too.
Right.
I mean, that is
That shouldn't make a difference, though, Ray. That shouldn't make a difference.
It shouldn't make a difference, but gosh, they live there, Kirk. It's their speedway. The captain bought it. He has more victories than any other car owner. I mean, he's been winning that race, Mark Donohue, 1972, Kirk. That was 50 years ago. That race team has been set a standard that goes all the way back 50 years. And I don't know, like you say, it's hard to count out a championship pedigree like that.
Nobody is talking about him, Ray. Nobody is talking about the Penske cars.
I agree, and I understand why. When you got Scott Dixon on the pole, and you've got the Carpenter cars up front, and the situations that are going on, I get that. But still, like we've discussed, it's a 500-mile race, 200 laps. We know that different things happen during that race. You have to be very consistent throughout the race, and then at the appropriate time, you have to be able to jump and make it happen. So I just cannot in my conscience count out the Penske cars.
I can't either.
I just can't do that.
I'm picking Scott Dixon to win, but my secondary pick is Joseph Newgarden. How about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Like I say, everybody's got to pick a dark horse. God, it's hard to go against Elio, though. You know, I'm an old school Foyt, Unser, and Mears fan. It'll probably be a little hard for me. As much as I like him, he has a great personality, for him to rise above their level, you know, in the greater pantheon of IndyCar racing in the 500. But if he did it, more power to him. I mean, that guy has persevered over a long time. It looked like he was dead in the water several times, but after that victory last year, which kind of reminded me of Al Unser Sr. Remember back in the day when he won that fourth one?
Right.
And he was kind of like a secondary figure at that point. Wasn't thought of as a stalwart, but once again, you cannot count out drivers of that caliber in a race where keeping your nose clean, hitting your marks, and making sure you do the right things in the pit stops. How many times at Indy have we seen an error in the pits, whether the driver comes in and he's too fast, he's too slow, he collides with somebody, all sorts of wackiness that happens.
There's always something big that happens in the pits every year.
There's always some calamity there. Even when I was a little kid, when it looked like Lloyd Ruby was going to finally win, and they ripped out the gas nozzle, remember?
Yep.
And then Andretti won in that secondary hot car. I mean, this has been going on for decades. It's like you always at Indy, I've never seen a race where you so much hold your breath when they come in the pits and go, all right, what's going to happen here? Because you just know sooner or later there's going to be a fiasco, and it can totally stymie, you know, guys where they don't get enough fuel in. You name the scenario, we've seen it. Of course,
That's
my favorite all-time pit moment was when Foyt came in, jumped out of his car, car started hitting on it, remember, with a ball-peen hammer. Now, that was great theater. The crowd was roaring, and, you know.
Remember that? Oh, my God, that was classic.
I will never forget that, when he decided to go old school on that state-of-the-art Indy car right there in the pits. But yeah.
That was unbelievable. Ray, thanks for spending time with us this morning. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. This is the greatest weekend in racing, in my opinion. So, and the Indy
is. I mean, it's such a traditional race weekend. It's, you know, and like I say, it's been ingrained in us since our childhood to love this weekend of racing. So, and it looks like, you know, crossing my fingers, I checked on my weather app every place, you know, Indianapolis, the race is here, and it seems like we're going to be okay, so hopefully that will happen.
What do you know? We don't have to worry about rain on a Memorial weekend.
Man.
What a concept.
I know. I know.
Ray, thanks a lot for spending time with us.
All right, have a great week.
All right, you take care. We'll talk to you soon. Ray Cunningham. He knows open
Good
wheel
guy.
racing better than anybody.
Yep, and he can fill a segment for you, my friend.
Todd, there's no one racer, one person outside Elvis where the mythology of the figure is bigger than Jesse Hockett. We all remember where we were when we heard this sad news 12 years ago on Thursday that we'd lost Jesse Hockett. But since that time, his legacy has grown big, and rightly so. And Jesse Hockett just has that kind of aura about him, doesn't he?
Yes, sir. I mean, I started working with you guys just a year. I mean, it must have been just like 1 year after he had passed away, because the scars were still fresh.
Yeah.
And the wounds were still, hadn't been for all you guys. And the way Scotty Cook talked about him the first year I met Scotty, and same way with Scott and you, and all the stories, he was a mythical person to me, because I didn't get to, I wasn't in the studio when you guys did all those shows. You guys did many, many, many shows with him in the studio. And so it was a little bit, when I came into the thing, he was like a guy that was just that guy that you heard about, and I wish I would have had a chance to meet that guy. Like I said,
he was a great guy, and he had just hit his stride, and he was, I think, the best non-wing sprint car racer in America.
The
at
legends.
That time. And you always wonder just how big could he have become.
Yeah.
And I think the sky was the limit. Well, Scotty Cook knew Jesse Hockett as well as anybody. They were great friends, and Scotty Cook, who you've heard on Racing Boys coverage of racing for years, and he's going to be on the coverage tonight over at Lake Ozark Speedway on Flow Racing, so check that out tonight. But Scotty Cook joined Scott on his Mostly Motorsports program the other day, and we're just going to play this whole interview. He tells some great Jesse Hockett stories, and let's let you listen to all of it from Mostly Motorsports earlier this week. Scott Traylor visiting with Scotty Cook about Jesse Hockett.
Scotty Cook joins us on the show right now. Scotty, how you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. It's been a while since we had a chance to talk to you, but unfortunately, today, I said it earlier in the show that you and I, when Jesse passed, we took a pact that we would never let the people in motorsports forget about Jesse Hockett. It was 12 years ago today that Jesse passed away, and here we are. We're going to talk about him. What do you think, bud?
Wow. Well, my first thought is it's just really crazy hard to believe how time flies, and that it has been 12 years ago today. And like anyone's, like any of one of the most pivotal chapters of anyone's life, they remember it like the back of their hand. And funny, my memory has gone all to hell, but I reflect back on that very day, and I can almost take myself through an hour by hour on that day, because it was just such an absolute shock. And I will never, ever forget it. There's no doubt, and it goes without saying, that he meant so much to so many people, and that he was such an impression, left such a positive impression, even outside of his abilities in a race car. He left such a wonderful impression on so very many people, and a lot of people forget that upon his passing, he was dealing with a load full of grief himself. He had just lost his cousin, his right-hand man, his best friend, his shadow, Daniel McMillan.
Right.
And he was in the midst of an absolute tear, unlike what we had seen up to this point.
Yeah.
Up to that point, or this point today, he went on an absolute tear behind the wheel of a race car, nearly unbeatable, and it was all fueled by grief. So that day, Scott, will live with me forever. I liken it to the day of the passing of my father or my mother, and I'll always love him. I think of him every day, and I miss him like so many others do.
Yeah, no doubt. And that was a tough day. I remember having to give you that call, and it was just a terrible thought that of all the people I had to call, the person that I dreaded calling the most was you, because I know you were so attached to Jesse.
I was on the 130-mile marker eastbound, east side of Columbia, Missouri, going to pick up my little brother from work. It was a hot, muggy, hazy spring day, almost like summertime, and my phone rang. I think I missed the first call. The second call came in, and it just popped out of your mouth, and my immediate reaction was to pull over to the shoulder of the highway, Interstate 70, and I sat there, and I just began to bawl. I could not believe it, and I remember it like it was last night, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy as hell.
Well, I know that when we got the word, it was just like 30 minutes afterwards, and I remember going in and telling Kirk, and I remember the both of us just crying like a baby because, Jesse was in the studio with us the night before, so we had a fresh image of him being around us. Just less than 24 hours later, we'd lost him, and it was just a horrible feeling. I want to talk about his accomplishments, though. I say this all the time, that I think Jesse Hockett might have been the most well-rounded open-wheel driver in the country. He could drive a midget. He could drive a 410 wing sprint, a 360 wing sprint, non-wing sprint cars. He was about as well-rounded as anybody in the business, wasn't he?
Well, there's no doubt, and particularly in a non-wing sprint car. He was just getting good in a wing car, but, man, he took a knack for non-wing cars. And, before I get into that, back to that particular night and the fresh image, I was much the same. The night before he passed, many people don't know that he was he was competing on the tour that year with us on the ASCS tour, behind the wheel of the Tom Book 13, and he also was competing in other things when time allowed away from the series. We had a 2-day show, a Memorial Weekend show, scheduled that weekend at Jetmore, Kansas, and he wanted to race the night before we were to race in Jetmore, which was a Saturday, Sunday, I believe, and he wanted to race a non-wing USAC show in Terre Haute on Friday night.
Yeah.
And so he was going to thrash to get to Terre Haute and thrash all the way back to Jetmore, and I was visiting with him on Facebook after he had gotten back from Kansas City in the studio with you guys, chatting, and I was teasing him about getting too big for his britches. We've known each other for 15 years, and now you get so grumpy and busy that when you're at the track, you don't even have time. I don't even think you even remember my name. So the tease went on, and yes, the image was fresh in my mind, just like you guys. And so far as his accomplishments, they speak for themselves. But some of the most amazing things that we ever saw, an Oval Nationals winner, the last ever winner at Manzanita Speedway.
Yeah.
He was scheduled to run Eldora that night or that weekend, and it looked like rain, and he had told me that he had a plane ticket ready and a ride ready to show up at Manzanita in case he got rained out at Eldora, and he called his shot and told me verbatim, I'm going to win the last race at Manzanita, and I'll be damned if he didn't. And speaking of Eldora, a feat that I didn't get to witness, and details may be a little bit sketchy, but a 2-day show, non-wing, competing with 410s with a 360 at Eldora, flipped his ass off the first night, bent the down tube, had to pull the down tubes apart to remove the old motor, and replaced it with another and went out and kicked their asses the next night. One of so many amazing feats, one of the most amazing feats, albeit on a local level. The weekend prior to his passing, what did he do? He won the last 3 races that he ever competed in. Friday night, I had the blessing to be able to call his last win at the historic Half Mile State Fair Speedway, Sedalia, and then again had the blessing to call his last win at Lake Ozark Speedway the following night, last Victory Lane interview.
And then Double X.
On the last night, just prior to Mother's Day, he went out and won his last race at his favorite track, the Double X Speedway in California, Missouri. And that was one track where you could have blindfolded his monkey ass, and he could still walk the dog on the competition week in and week out. And just so many amazing accomplishments. But I think even more beautiful than that is just the impression that he left behind with so many, with his life skills beyond the cockpit of a race car. He was loved so dearly by so many and respected so much by his peers, even his stiffest competition and biggest rival, Robert Ballou.
Well, all I can tell you is that we're going to play the video of the last interview you did with Jesse and down at I-30 in Little Rock, Arkansas. I think that was your last interview with him, wasn't it?
It was. Last taped interview, those Victory Lane interviews, the weekend prior to his passing were the last one, but that was the last interview. And I think I just recently shared that interview on my Facebook, and I said as much on the post included with the interview that I am so very grateful for you and for Kirk. And I don't even remember who shot it, that video and that interview was documented, and it's still sad to this day to see it. But every time I see it, man, I just get a warm heart along with a melted heart, and we just miss him so much, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Scotty, so this weekend on Sunday, they're going to have the tribute to Jesse Hockett down at Double X Speedway. And the good thing about it this year is that Lake Ozark Speedway has chosen to do the Friday-Saturday night gig because you remember in years past, they've been doing the Saturday-Sunday deal. Big conflict of interest right there, but now they're going to do the Friday-Saturday, and they said they're not going to run on Sunday. I talked to Kenny Brown today, so they're going to make sure that they get a good car count over there at Double X Speedway this weekend for the Jesse Hockett tribute.
And all you can say to that is kudos to Kenny Brown and Kevin Grieven for acknowledging that and being willing to cooperate with Double X Speedway. And, in years past, there have been conflicts of interest not only for that event but other events. But I think it's so very important, especially in today's world, for tracks to cooperate with each other and with prices and things as crazy as they are, for people to be selective about races that they want to see. I think it's more important than ever for dirt tracks within the vicinity of each other to cooperate with each other. So a big shout out to Kenny and Kevin for understanding how much Jesse meant to so many people around here, especially in Montauk County, California, Missouri.
Yeah.
Before you let me go, can I share a quick, one of the most beautiful Jesse Hockett stories I ever saw?
Go ahead.
You've heard a million stories about one of the best friends I ever had, Eric Schrock, and you've heard the story as well. But this particular day lasts with me forever. And again, it's likened to the day of his passing. I recall every moment of this moment in time just like it was yesterday. But Eric Schrock, sadly, was selling out all of his equipment, and he was getting out of racing. Eric and Eric and Jesse were, and a footnote to this story, we were just a few days removed from I hope Jack and Connie will close their ears, but Eric and I had just taken Jesse to our local watering hole, and we had had plenty that night, and we all piled into his vehicle and headed back east of town and back to Eric's house. And there's an old 2-lane rural highway that shoots south off of I-70 that went to his house that was about 3 miles long with one two-way stop in it, but it was straight as an arrow. And we got on that old 2-lane road. And the last time I looked from the back seat, the speedometer was reading 109, and Jesse had both of his palms to the roof of the car as we approached that intersection, and old Eric never lifted, and we got out of that car and laughed at Jesse because his eyes were bigger than silver dollars. But just a few days removed from that, Eric was selling out all of his equipment, and quickly Jesse and Cordy, his cousin Cordy, had showed up, one of his old crew chief, to load up all of Eric's remaining equipment because Jesse was going to purchase it. So there were 4 of us in the shop, and it was, when we were all together, it was very loose, and we always laughed a lot. But that particular day, not a lot of words. It was very somber and very quiet, loading all that equipment up one piece at a time. And when we got it all loaded up, Jesse and Andy closed the lip of the trailer. Jesse ran off to the truck to get the check, and I noticed his eyes welled up when he returned. And as he was writing that check, I could tell he was visibly upset.
Yeah.
And when he presented Eric with that check, he began to bawl, and they both just embraced for a long time. And wow, it breaks me up to even remember that very moment, because both of them were very dear friends. Eric and I still are really good friends.
Yep.
And I will never, ever forget that moment, because Jesse, let alone funny, talented, silly, he also had a very, very compassionate side. And he knew that he just bought out his best friend, whom he claims before his passing, nobody ever made me sit up on the wheel of a race car more than Eric Schrock. Of all the talent that he ever raced against, he said Eric made him sit up on the wheel more than anyone.
Isn't that something?
It was a very, very touching moment, and one that I'll never forget forever. And I know you've heard that story, but I thought appropriate to share before I get on out of here.
Yeah.
There is the fascinating conversation that Scott had with Scotty Cook about Jesse Hockett. And, yeah, I mean, don't you agree, Scott? It's almost like Elvis-like. I mean, the mythic figure that Jesse Hockett has become, and rightly so, because he just had that aura about him.
He had the it factor that people talk about, and that's what Scotty Cook would always tell me. He had that gift, whatever that gift is you got, that he had that it figure. But I always thought in that interview when he talked about how he was racing with such passion because he lost his, and he said he was just racing and just beating everybody up until that point. I mean, he was just out there racing, with grieving all that, and then to have his life cut short because of an accident with it's not on the course, not on the racetrack, not driving or anything. It's sad. I remember Dale Earnhardt Sr. saying, "It's not a tragedy if I die on the racetrack. That things happen." And he goes, "It'd be a tragedy if I died on my way to church. That's a tragedy." Yeah. And the way Jesse passed, it sucks that he got taken from us so early like that. And,
electrical.
So like I said, it's just sad.
It's and they'll be thinking of Jesse tomorrow night.
For sure.
Double X Speedway, where the tribute to Jesse will be held. Non-wing and wing sprint cars will be the featured attraction down there, and that's always a huge turnout at Double X Speedway, and that's tomorrow night. Robert Ballou also knew Jesse very well. Back in the day, Robert Ballou is as exciting a non-wing sprint car driver as there is. He
Sure
won at
is.
Terre Haute the other night. His boss owns that racetrack now, and Robert's been working a lot at helping refurbish Terre Haute, the action track, and he won there the other night. In the weekend, the Tony Holman Classic at the action track at Terre Haute. Robert Ballou joined Scott Traylor on his Mostly Motorsports show earlier this week. Here's a portion of that interview.
The first race win that I ever had there, I want to say was maybe 2008. It was me and Hockett.
Yeah.
Obviously, me and Jesse were pretty tight, and we slid each other for the 5 of the last 6 laps. Back and forth each corner, and I finally, shook him and got the win. And that was a Don Smith Classic, which Don Smith was at that point, very old. He was the president of First Financial Bank, and he promoted the place, and he was, in charge of Tony Holman's money, to my understanding.
Oh wow!
And so I got to meet him, back in 2008. Obviously, he died a few years ago, and just the history. They used to give out a real gun.
Right.
Turns out it was it started as a Henry 30-30, then it went to a Marlin 30-30 that had a gold trigger, which I got a picture of that from Davy Jones. He has his late father's Bubby's from 1987, I believe. And the correlation with that, we just found out. I called me and Susanna Stapp called Bruce Walkup over the weekend, or actually yesterday, and it used to be a twin 30-lap feature, inverted, and then who won the second race got the gun, and he actually won the second one.
Wow.
So obviously this is the 52nd one, so he's getting up there in age nowadays.
Right.
But the last promoter didn't give out. They gave out like toy guns. And so obviously my boss is not afraid to put his money where his mouth is. And I said, hey, the last promoter here was too cheap to buy a real gun. He just gave out 2 toys. Why don't you do what, they used to do? And so then obviously I got put on the task. The gun, they initially looked for toy guns. Well, they weren't, I guess the trophy place didn't get back with Bernie, so there wasn't going to be anything.
Holy cow.
And so I went on Saturday to a gun shop. I called around and found out that there are no 30-30s available. Apparently it's a very popular gun.
Mm-hmm.
They have like 6-month back order. Seems like in Indiana that anyway. And so I got a Henry. It's got a big lever. They call it a John Wayne edition. It's got a classic big lever on it.
It's kind of like it's
Henry 22.
It's kind of like a Winchester, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 22. Rifle. And everyone's like, "Oh, why didn't you do a gold?" Like Henry's famous for a Golden Boy.
Yeah.
Which the gun, that Bruce Walkup has is a Henry 30-30. So, I couldn't find a Henry 30-30. I couldn't find any 30-30. So I ended up getting. I picked up a 22 Henry, which obviously this weekend's the Josh Burton Memorial, and their trophy is the Henry Golden Boy.
Wow.
And so I didn't want to get a golden one just because I didn't want to take away from what they've got going. So just got a standard Henry 22, a real gun, and I hadn't even got paid back for buying it before. then I got it.
Well,
I took my boss's credit card to buy it, and the credit card had to match my driver's license since I was buying a gun. So
right.
So I got to buy the gun, and then the next day I got to keep it.
There he is, Robert Ballou. Interesting stories there in light of his big win at the Tony Holman Classic at Terre Haute last weekend.
He's a heck of a guy.
He is entertaining as heck.
I
think maybe the most entertaining driver there is out there. He just has no fear. I mean, he just lays it out on the line.
I just remember that time at Lakeside Speedway when he ran her up in the rough and nobody else dared to run that up there against the wall like he did. And I remember a lady had asked me who is she wasn't familiar with the sprint cars, non-wing sprint car stuff, and she said, "Man, who is that guy?" And I said, "That's Robert Ballou." And I said, "He'll probably win tonight because that guy is he's a different cat, man.
He's the hottest non-wing driver in the country right now, the way he's going.
He
won that race at I-70 Motorsports Park a couple of weeks ago, and then at Terre Haute. He's been running up front everywhere. He's got it going on right now. You know, he got slowed down a couple of years ago when he got hurt. He's been hurt a couple of times.
Yeah,
in a
we
race
talked
car.
about that on one of our interviews. Where he talked about, he was banged up pretty good there for a good while. It took a little while, but it's good to see him back.
None of those incidents have ever held him back.
No. Like you said, it was more of he was physically. It has nothing to do with mentally. It was just when you get beat up like that, it's tough to maintain. But yeah, it's good to see him back winning all the time again, and he's a good name to have in victory lane. Anytime you can see Robert Ballou on the podium, it's been a good race.
How you going to enjoy the rest of your weekend, Todd?
Well, it's going to be a race-filled weekend, that's for sure. We definitely got the days off. I'm going to be watching. Definitely be doing my Indy and a little Coca-Cola, and I don't know. I got housework to do, unfortunately, Kirk. When you own a house, you have things to do. So I'm going to be weed eating and mowing a little bit today and trying to get, it's been so rainy here in Kansas City.
Got to keep up with the mowing after all this rain.
It's just so wet, and I just don't understand how we can have so much water here in Kansas City and everybody else is just dying. I mean, the whole Midwest is drowning over here. I'm glad to see they got Lakeside Speedway in last night because we got a lot of rain. Boy, they had some really good racing out there, too. I saw Shadwin Turner won again.
He won again last night. Nick Bittinger won again last night.
Nick Bittinger. So some good racing out there. I know Kirk's going to pull the results up a little bit here in a second. But, yeah, it was good to see that Lakeside was able to get their racing in because we've been fighting the Mother Nature all week long. So
Bittinger beat Tyler Hibner, Todd Shute, and Gunnar Martin. And it was Mark Chapman rounding out the top 5 in the USRA Modified Division last night. Had another pretty good field of USRA B mods, where, as Todd mentioned, Shadwin Turner outran Andy Bryant. And Kyle Studer finished in 3rd. J.C. Morton and Terry Schultz the top 5. Other winners last night were Chad Clancy in the stock car division. It was Reed Young in the pure stock class, and Zach Boyd winning the E-Mod class at Lakeside Speedway. And we got to mention, Todd, that next Friday night is a huge night at Lakeside Speedway.
Night.
It is the Grant Youngans Memorial Race.
Place is packed.
For the USRA Modifieds, maybe the biggest night of the year.
Yeah, and big money for that. So it's always fun to watch that. Those people come in for that race, and it's always a good race too. Like you said, they always put on a really good race for that. And let's just hope Mother Nature has been kind to us that week, and we'll be able to get that in. I think we're going to be out of the bushes. We're looking for some hot weather here in the next few weeks. So
$20,002 to win next Friday night. $1,002 to start.
That's great.
At Lakeside next Friday night. So
get out there and get your tickets. It's going to be a great race. And they've been having really good racing out there. Everybody's been talking about how well it's been. And like you said, despite the weather, they've been able to get some racing in out there at Lakeside. So I know they got the weekend before and this weekend. So back-to-back weeks.
So check out wherever you're going tonight.
Right.
And it's going to be a great night to be at the racetrack.
Hopefully everybody will be able to tune in Tuesday to Mostly Motorsports. Remember, Monday's a holiday, so everybody make sure you...
No Mostly Motorsports on Monday.
That's right. It's Memorial Day, so make sure you honor those for the reason we have the holiday. And back here Tuesday for the 100th episode, and me and Kirk will be here on that episode, and then every Friday, me and Kirk are here in there with Austin and Scott Traylor for Open Phone Fridays. We always put the phone number up, and if you have a topic you want to talk about, doesn't have to be racing, just give us a buzz, man. We love to have guests call in on Fridays.
Yes, absolutely. So check that out at show at noon every day, Mostly Motorsports. You can view it live just like you do Track Talk on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, live, and racingboys.com.
If you want to go to the homepage, if you guys aren't a podcast type of person, you can go right to our homepage, which is racingboys.com. There's a big banner at the top with Mostly Motorsports with Scott's face on it. Just click that banner. That'll take you right over to the Podbean side. And Podbean, what that is just a service that they offer, and you can listen to it there. You can sign up. There's some places you can go to Google and find that as well. But man, you click that banner, all those episodes pop up right there. And there's a description in the link that tells you exactly what every episode is right there. So click on that. You can listen to that. You can download it, listen to it as your leisure. And we also have the highlights that we play on Track Talk. Those are on YouTube. So the smaller interview. So if you want to have something to watch or show somebody, boom, you got that right there too as well. So.
And I want to remind you that a week from today is the annual induction to the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame at Knoxville. That's a week from today, 32nd annual National Sprint Car Hall of Fame induction banquet at 12 noon at the Dyer Hudson Hall on the grounds of the Marion County Fairgrounds in Knoxville. You got Johnny Gibson, you got Tony Stewart going in,
big names.
Eric Gordon, Terry Gray, Tim Green, Ralph Heinzelman Sr., Jack Cromer, Robin Miller, who
that's right.
He's another big one. Unfortunately, we lost Robin here this past year. Walter T. Ross, Dennis Roth, Melvin Slim Rutherford, Bob Fry. And so check that out. And also the drawing for the Corvette is still going.
And the Sprint Car as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on up there at the Sprint Car Hall of Fame and up at Knoxville.
They're going to be racing tonight at Knoxville.
Fun time had by all up at Knoxville.
Been some great racing up there so far this year. So check out wherever you're going. Todd, you have a good weekend. We hope everybody else does as well. And thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Every Saturday morning, we're here for Track Talk and also Mostly Motorsports Monday through Friday with Scott Traylor. Not this Monday, but Monday through Friday with Mostly Motorsports. And you have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kirk Elliott, and we'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.
Taking care of your car is a responsibility. It ensures the long life of your car and its expensive components. That's why Lucas Oil takes automotive protection so seriously. Lucas heavy-duty oil stabilizer bonds with motor oil to shield engines from heat and wear. So take pride in caring for your car and pass that pride and knowledge to the next generation for years of smooth, reliable driving on the long road ahead. Trust Lucas Oil. It works.